Hey my dear friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're looking at the 2018 Mustang GT, and a pretty nice, good looking one at that. It's got the all-new 10-speed automatic transmission and the more powerful 5-liter V8 under the hood. So I'm going to show it to you inside and out. We're going to take it for a drive, and I'm going to tell you what I really think. On the topic of styling, Ford gave the 2018 Mustang a little bit of a facelift, but that might actually be the wrong terminology here because it's actually a bit of a face push. The front of this car is actually an inch lower than before, and you can really see that in the angle of the hood here, and you really do notice it sitting behind the hood. The view out is a little bit different, and we'll get to that here when we talk about the interior, but this hood has some different sculpting than before. We've got functional vents here. Now, they're not really functional in the sense that they have a purpose other than to be called functional vents. If you look up underneath the hood, you'll see that there is daylight coming through them, but they don't really do a lot. They're just mainly there to look cool, I think, and that is a classic Mustang styling touch. As you look at the grille, we've got a gloss black finish, and here on the GT Premium, we've got LED headlights. Full tilt headlights with the daytime running lights. This also has fog lights. Looking at the lower splitter, that's a pretty pronounced splitter down there, and while it looks exceptionally low, I will tell you I've had very good luck this week in parking lots going over this parking curbs. I've gotten out and looked, haven't hit one yet, and it literally just slides over the top of standard parking curb. They've really thought about making sure that you don't have to replace that every 3 weeks, and it looks like it might be a pretty expensive piece of plastic if you had to. Coming around the corner, because we have the GT Performance package on this car, this has 19-inch alloy wheels. Very nice looking wheels, I think, and through those on the front you can see the Brembo brakes. Performance package on this car comes with the 265 front and the 275 summer rubber. If you look at the Ford website, you can see that this car comes with a wide variety of wheels. If you don't like these, pick another one. As we move around to the back, because of the performance package, this has a pedestal rear spoiler, which I really do like the design of. It's a little bit taller than the spoiler we saw in the last generation GT, or rather the last Evolution. And on the taillight panel for 2018, has a little bit of a mustache line in there. And moving down to the lower part of the fascia, you see a few different angles and a few different sculpted designs going on there that are a little bit different, especially with that diffuser. Big dual exhaust pipes. This has the active exhaust system on it, and you'll get to hear that here in a couple of minutes. It's got a great sound. I have to tell you, this design of the Mustang for 2018, when I saw the pictures, some of the initial video, I wasn't very impressed with it, but the more I spent time with it this week, sort of spending the three-dimensional time in its orbit, it really is growing on me. The interior of this generation Mustang is a place that I've always generally liked. It's got the dual cowl design layout that really goes back to the first Mustangs. It's very retro, yet in this case quite modern, and the materials have always been reasonably good. Now, one thing they've done for 2018 is they have, especially down here on the console, they've raised the bar a little bit on some of the details, and they've changed the finishes just a little bit. In the case of this car, I've got the premium leather seats here, which really look beautiful, and they're very comfortable. They're both heated and ventilated. They're power operated both for the driver and for the passenger, so finding a comfortable position here is very easy to do. And the leather's just got a nice feel to it. It's got a perforation in it, and I like the looks of it. Sitting here, one of the biggest changes, even though it really is about the exterior, that I find behind the wheel is the view out. This hood design, now an inch lower, and it's a little bit flatter in its sculpting. It doesn't have those big fins that it used to have, and it doesn't really look like a big, huge plywood table out in front of you anymore. And so not only is the visibility better, but I don't feel like I'm sitting behind the wheel of a 71 Mach 1. It's just, I like it a lot better, the view out. So we've got better visibility. Another big change for 2018 is right here in front of me. This is the new widescreen display that is infinitely customizable. Through the drive modes and other measures, you can really get in there and change the looks of it. You can move the gauges around, you can choose different gauge styles, and at first, I'll admit, I didn't really think it was a very good idea, because by putting this big wide screen in here, you lose the dual dial look of before, but it actually looks okay from behind the wheel. So I not only am okay with it, I would totally want this in my Mustang. So I like what they've done there, and there's a ton of information there, and especially when you get into the different drive modes or if you use the track apps, this is your workspace here. So I like what they've done there. The steering wheel, beautiful steering wheel with the Mustang logo in the center, and a lot of buttons and controls on it that really complement what you have here on the center stack. The one thing I would point out that even though it looks very nice to look at, some of the things going on here with this interior are not a lot of storage, not a lot of ergonomic design. Not really a very good place to put your phone. It's a place you can put it, but it doesn't fit there very well, and you have to sort of reach around the shifter to get to it. There's a small storage place down here in the center console, but it isn't very large. It is locking here on this particular car. Cup holders are well located though, because they don't necessarily get in the way of your shifter. So if you've got big cups here and you've got the manual, you're going to be okay there, I think. But some of these switches down here on the center stack are sort of hard to see and reach around the shifter to get to when you're driving. So ergonomic design in that respect could use some improvement. Here we've definitely got form over function. This interior is pretty roomy if you're sitting in front. If you're sitting in the back, kind of tight back there. I think that back seat really is more about your insurance rates than it is about providing a place for full-size passengers. That seat does fold down in a 50-50 split so that you can put larger things in your trunk, and the trunk space on this Mustang actually pretty good for a sport coupe. The one small thing is the opening getting in and out of it. So you're not really going to get big, huge boxes in there, but if you have a lot of little things, you got plenty of space for that. This interior, mildly improved from the last year, and well, it already started at a pretty high bar. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. The infotainment system here is the top of the line shaker audio system with 12 speakers, but most importantly, it has the Sync 3 user interface. As you can see, it's very bright, the graphics are crisp. I have rated this very high in every car I've tested it in. It's easy to use, it's easy to understand, it's easy to learn, it works well, the navigation system's good, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, a lot of other features and apps. Really truly is the best America has to offer when it comes to infotainment systems. It's that simple. This gets 5 out of 5 stars. Under the hood of the Mustang GT is something quite new. It is a big, giant, redesigned engine cover. Would you look at that? Now, I'm kidding just a little bit, but it is a big, giant, new engine cover, and that's because underneath that we've got a revised version of the 5-liter V8 that now has direct fuel injection in addition to the port fuel injection. And usually when we have direct injection on an engine, they put these big engine covers on there because that helps suppress the noise that the direct injectors make. So that's that. As such, we have 460 horsepower. Also here is the new 10-speed automatic transmission that's shared with General Motors. You'll also find the same transmission or a variation of it in the Camaro, the Chevrolet pickup trucks, the Tahoe with 4, you'll find it in the F-150, also in the new Expedition. So it's a transmission that's going to be around for a while, and as we're going to find out here in just a minute, I'm finding that I think I like it. But as such, it's rated by the EPA at 16 mpg city, 25 mpg highway, and 19 mpg combined. Now's the time when we drive. Woo! It's got a nice sound, doesn't it? So this car has the active exhaust, which is an option which allows you to go into the instrument cluster here and adjust the level of the volume on this exhaust system. It actually has a quiet mode that you can set so that when you start it in the morning, it doesn't disturb your neighbors. How kind. So the question always is, how does it go? Yes! Woo! It goes. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my God, did you hear that? That sounds glorious. Glorioso. Woo! Let's do that some more. I'm speeding. Oh my God, am I speeding? That's 100 miles an hour. Woo! It goes, it goes, it goes, it goes, it goes. And so you might have discovered there that this transmission is on the job. It's on the job. It's on the job. It's on the job. It does what you tell it. When you step on the gas, it downshifts multiple times, obviously, because we've got 10 gears here. It does a really nice job of working because that gives this the kind of acceleration and power that we used to look to the last generation GT500 for. But because of the power curves of this engine in terms of its horsepower and its torque, it doesn't overwhelm the tires in such a way that you just can't use the power. I'm a happy guy. Now, MPG, you know, it's not that great because I've been driving like this all week, but I did get 18 MPG combined, which is actually pretty good if you think about it. I'm very pleased with this powertrain, 5 out of 5 stars. When it comes to power and handling, this is a car that 2015 to 2017 hasn't always impressed me because while we now have an independent suspension, which is something everyone always wanted for so long, the tuning of this car was a little bit on the soft side, meaning that forward and rear pitching, side to side roll when you really started driving the car aggressively. Well, here we have the Magna Ride suspension, which is always on the job to constantly adjust what your drive mode is, all of these things. So it's tuned to be stiff when you want it, and it's tuned to be compliant when it can be. And it's got the dual ball joint front suspension. We've got the Brembo brakes on this one. We've got these great grippy tires that aren't going to break loose for virtually anything. They finally just gotten this chassis to the point where I think it's there. And it really feels a lot like the GT350, and it should because, well, it really shares a lot of that same suspension componentry with the Magna Ride. So I love it. I really think that the Magna Ride is worth the extra money because it does transform the way this feels and the way it behaves. So chassis gets 5 out of 5 stars. As you know, if you watch my reviews, quality is very important to me. I go over these cars, I look at them very closely, I slam the doors, I touch the materials, I look at the panel gaps, the paint finish, the interior materials. I really want to see how they're put together because they're getting pretty expensive, especially this one. And I was pretty impressed with this Mustang. For the most part, Mustangs have always had a pretty good quality level, and this one didn't disappoint there. The only thing I'd point out here is that the warranty coverage isn't the best in the business. And while that may or may not be a big deal to most people, I always look at it as part of the scoring. So overall, quality here comes in at 4 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, wrapping it up for the 2018 Mustang GT. I gotta tell you folks, I am impressed. I really like this car so much. In fact, it goes on my I'd buy it list for 2018. The first modern day Mustang to do so, and the first car this year for our I'd buy it list. And the reason why is because Ford did a few things to this car that really transformed it for me. The first one is this lower hood, and it's not about the styling, it's about what it looks like from behind the wheel. Better visibility, and it just doesn't look like I've got this big speedboat table out in front of me that I'm sitting down behind. I feel like I have a much better view, and it just looks better to me. And believe it or not, that is enough almost to make me buy the car over the 2017, 2016, 2015 versions. The other thing, this new Magna Ride suspension completely gets rid of the boatiness that I experienced in the past few GTs I've driven. And that was forward to rear, side to side boatiness. When you really start to drive the car hard, you're accelerating, you're braking. I just couldn't live with that every day. And this Magna Ride suspension is very good at controlling the body motions, and it's got a nice sharp tune to it. Very European in its feel, and it really controls those motions when you start throwing this car around aggressively. And that is what makes a car like this fun to drive for me. So those two things really made this car much better. This 10-speed automatic transmission, not usually an automatic guy in a car like this, but I would totally buy it with this transmission because it works exceptionally well. So I'm very impressed. 53 grand though. Wow, wow, wow. 53 grand for a Mustang GT. Woo! Things have changed a little bit since I first started buying Mustangs, but that is fully loaded here. We've got everything on this car that you can do except if you start going crazy at the dealership with accessories. So when I look at this price, I'm still seeing value here because this car has finally gotten to the point where we can credibly start comparing it to things like an M4. And now granted, they're still quite a bit different, but you could actually say, I could buy this instead of that because it's almost as good. And it's actually better in some ways. The M4 is better in different ways, but it's finally to a point where you can actually credibly say those different cars together in the same conversation. So at 53 grand, I think we're at a pretty good value. I put that at 5 stars, wrapping it in with everything we've already talked about. We're at 4.5 stars for the review plus the I'd buy it list. That's good. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. All right, my friends, I'm glad you came along for the ride. And I've got to tell you, I am a Mustang guy, and everyone always says crap like that. But when I say that, Google my name and Mustang and you'll see what I mean. I have lived with Mustangs virtually all of my adult life. My first car was a Mustang, and I've owned nearly a dozen Mustangs from old, classic, new, and current generations. And so, if there's any car on this planet that I know very well, aside of a Volkswagen, it's a Ford Mustang. So it means a lot to me to finally be at a point where I'd say, I'd buy this, because it's been a while, quite frankly. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Nonetheless, if you like the video you just saw, I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel right there, or just see our latest video right there on the big square. Either way, stay tuned.